Roast, we take a look at the minor parties in this election, and the coalition announces plans for an asylum seeker blackout. But first, Mark Humphries wants a quiet word.
Shadow Treasurer Joe Hockey finally unveiled the coalition's costings today, leaving voters only a few hours to figure out if the numbers actually add up. In the words of a Canadian who doesn't care for his national sport, I'm very disappointed with Hockey. More details on that tomorrow, but in the meantime, one group of people who won't get to see the costings are the Big Brother housemates, who voted last night after watching video messages made for them by the various party leaders. Greens leader Christine Milne won them over by knowing the name of their dog.
And don't forget to give Mr. Palmer a pat for me.
Oh, let's vote for the candidate that watches Big Brother. Clive Palmer took time out from wasting the nation's time to baffle the housemates with this.
The first $10,000 paid on a home loan, tax deductible each year, will restore the Australian dream of each Australian owning their own home.
All right, Clive, let's go for take two. No take two? All right, we're going with that one. And since the housemates missed out on Tony Abbott's other creepy sex appeal gaffe, the opposition leader recorded one especially for them.
If you want to know who to vote for, I'm the guy with the not bad looking daughters, isn't that right?
And I'm the guy with vomit in my mouth. Prime Minister Kevin Rudd sent some old video about marriage equality he had lying around, presumably because he knows that it's a lost cause to campaign in the seat of Dream World. And for what it's worth, I also prepared a message for the housemates. You're a stain on society. Clive Palmer has added another title to his already lengthy Twitter profile, Breakfast Television Goofball. Palmer appeared on 7 Sunrise and 9's Today Show, threatening to sue Rupert Murdoch and coming up with other bullshit.
Rupert Murdoch's wife, Wendy Dung, is a Chinese spy.
If you've just joined us, this man is running for Prime Minister. Palmer's got it in for Murdoch after an article published today in the Murdoch-owned newspaper The Australian suggested Professor Palmer, the billionaire mining magnate, is neither a professor, nor a billionaire, nor a mining magnate. Koshy gave Palmer the chance to set the record straight.
Are you a professor? Yes or no?
Well, first of all, I'm not important.
Are you a mining magnate?
Well, you know, I've never said that. I'm an Australian.
Are you a billionaire?
I don't know.
Say what you like about Clive Palmer, you've got to respect his lack of knowledge about himself. I could go on about all the stupid things Clive Palmer said, and I will.
Kevin Rudd said we're going to have a fast train between Melbourne and Sydney by the year 2035 when he's 93 years old.
Quick, someone tell 55-year-old Rudd that in 22 years he'll be 93. But clearly maths isn't really Palmer's forte.
Are you a billionaire?
I don't know.
Well, that's enough from me about Clive Palmer. After this...
How's the Titanic going?
It's fantastic. You know, it's bringing together Europe and the United States about peace and love.
Again, running for Prime Minister. For The Roast, I'm Mark Humphries.
Thanks, Mark. Now, over the past 2 nights, we have delivered leadership profiles on both the Prime Minister...
Kevin 10 was a psychopathic micromanager. Kevin 10 gave up on the greatest moral challenge of our time. Kevin 10 didn't rhyme.
and the leader of the opposition.
A man who looks like a bunch of clay thrown at a skeleton.
So tonight we will continue with our It's Almost Over election specials. Coming under the microscope this evening, the minor parties.
The Pirate Party Australia.
Whoa, no, sorry. When I said minor parties, I meant the key minor parties, not the ones you sort of feel came about as the result of losing a bet. So Nick, try again.
Christine Milne. Lifetime activist, leader of the Greens, and the biggest threat to a two-party race. But not really. Christine Milne grew up on a dairy farm in Latrobe, Tasmania, and it was here she met her first love, a tall, dark stranger named Willow, a tree. After working as a teacher for a number of years, Christine joined the Tasmanian Greens in 1989, identifying with their core values of peace and non-violence, as distinct from all other parties who believe in peace and murder. In 2012, Christine Milne took over the Greens' leadership from Bob Brown, facing the almost insurmountable task of replacing the man who invented the Greens. A task made slightly easier by the fact that Bob Brown didn't pull a Bob Catter and name the party after himself. Probably because brown is the least exciting colour on the tree, followed closely by green. But somehow Christine Milne is successfully leading Brown's Green Party into this election, leaving us to wonder, can this former teacher teach Australia's two major parties a lesson by winning this election? No, of course not. She might get 10% of the vote though and come in third, claiming bronze, which is like a shiny brown. Now on to a man who actually thinks he's going to win the election, but probably won't even get 10% of the vote. the leader of the Palmer United Party, national living treasure, self-described professor, CEO and resort owner, truly someone who collects job titles like they're Pokemon. Yes, I'm talking about Clive Frederick Palmer, the man who will be the next Prime Minister of Australia if everyone in every other party dies and we have some kind of Stephen Bradbury situation. Clive made the majority of his wealth here, collecting things from dirt. And because of his hard work, he was able to retire at the tender age of 29, claiming that $40 million was enough. Which it is, especially considering the life of the Earth has now been shortened thanks to the way he made a further $750 million. In 2009, Palmer gave $10 million worth of Christmas bonuses to his staff, including 55 Mercedes-Benzes like some sort of Jurassic Oprah. Palmer got his start in politics when he joined the National Party in 1974 under controversial Queensland Premier Joe Bjelke-Petersen and was awarded lifetime membership of the Nationals in 1992, which was then suspended in 2012 when he decided to restart the United Australia Party, a name he later changed to the Palmer United Party because of course all Australian parties are named after their founders. Who can forget John Liberal or Joe Labor or Maria Shooters and Fishers? And now from one Queensland member of the Nationals who started a fringe party named after himself, we turn to the other one. The man of the land, the man of the hat, the man who looks like a living bronze statue of himself. Bob Katter, son of Bob Katter Sr. Bob Katter, son of Bob, is a social conservative, opponent of gun control and gay marriage, and climate change denier, explaining, if you could imagine 20 or 30 crocodiles up there on the roof, and if all that roof was illumination, and saying that we wouldn't see anything in this room because of a few croco roaches up there, are you telling me seriously that the world is going to warm because there's 400 parts per million of CO2 up there? But unfortunately, Bob lost the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change at croco roaches. Which brings us to today, where Bob Katter leads Katter's Australian Party, fights passionately for rural affairs and publishes books like An Incredible Race of People, rated 2012's loudest audiobook. So this election day, spare a thought for all these parties who gave us more options than the two major ones, and who make the ballot paper much bigger than it would be, so we can all feel like we drank that potion from Alice in Wonderland that made her tiny. For The Roast, I'm Nick Richardson. Oh, and before you say we're biased against the minor parties, we shat on Rudd yesterday, and we shat on Abbott the day before that, so shut up!
Thanks, Nick. Well, finally tonight, opposition immigration spokesman Scott Morrison has proposed a policy that could prevent the public from ever learning how many asylum seeker boats arrive under a coalition government. This out-of-sight, out-of-mind plan would leave the decision over whether or not to make boat arrivals public in the hands of a three-star military officer. And in justifying the proposal to give up that decision-making power, Morrison said, "I don't think those decisions should be put in the hands of politicians. I'm quite happy to trust a three-star military officer of our armed forces." Yeah, I agree, Scott Morrison, elected member for Cook. Politicians who we voted for to run the country shouldn't make decisions. That's the Army's job. In fact, why can't we just cut out the middleman entirely and vote for the guy who's going to be running things anyway?
Who are you going to vote for? Vote 1, anonymous, three-star general.
Now, the proposal has been endorsed by former Major General Jim Molan, who explained, "It is a military-led operation, but it is not a military operation despite military involvement in the field." So, I'm sorry, when I said explained, I meant made no sense. Because the system could really only work in one of two ways. Either the general would tell the government and then decide whether or not to tell the public, or, much, much worse, the general would unilaterally decide what to tell both the public and the government.
Right, so thank you for coming in, anonymous three-star general. We really need you to help us deal with the asylum seeker problem.
Now we want to call the operation something scary, something that'll inspire. We've got a few options. Operation Ocean Silence.
Operation See No Evil, Do More Evil. Operation Sovereign Borders. Great, yeah, rolls terrifyingly off the tongue, doesn't it?
Wonderful. But remember, we don't want to know anything about this or any of the other things you're doing.
Yes, so could you be sure to tell us nothing about it?
Great.
But Scott Morrison wasn't finished depressing everyone, so he signalled that the coalition could pull Australia out of the Refugee Convention if it felt it was in a refugee emergency. A convention that 145 countries have signed, even America signed a part of it, and they didn't ratify the Convention on the Rights of the Child because it forbids both death sentences and life imprisonment for minors. Are you listening, Scott Morrison? Even the country that didn't ratify the Don't Execute Children document thinks pulling out of the Refugee Convention might make them look bad. Still, I guess these politicians that we elected to make these kinds of decisions know best, even though you don't think they should be making these kinds of decisions.
The Liberal Party. We didn't solve the problem, but you don't know that.
And we will bring you more on the Coalition's plan for asylum seekers tomorrow. Ah, yes. What asylum seekers? I've never heard of them. Good night.
Left, 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 right, left, 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 right, left, 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 right, left, left, left.